Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is on its way towards all-time highs, continuing this recovery as we're just now starting to see a significant breakout above this very important area of resistance. So in just a moment, I'll be talking about my exact Bitcoin trading strategy and how I'm planning to make a lot of profits from this Bitcoin move. I'll be sharing that in detail in just a moment, alongside Ethereum, which is now starting to break out above a very important level of resistance, while the price of Chainlink is potentially starting to do the same. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, we need to take a look at the Bitcoin news today, because over the last 1 to 2 days here, we've actually seen some major Bitcoin news regarding Bitcoin reserves. So basically, as we can see here, 2 states within the United States have now enacted Bitcoin reserves. And so obviously these states have to go through multiple steps here in order to actually get to a Bitcoin reserve. But so far, we now have 2 states, Arizona and New Hampshire, which is basically confirming that they now have Bitcoin reserves and of course accumulating Bitcoin reserves. And obviously there's multiple other states here that are quickly moving towards Bitcoin reserves. And of course, the more Bitcoin reserves are out there, basically the more that's reducing supply from the open market, which is bullish for the price of Bitcoin over the long term. And so overall, of course, this is bullish news that has happened over the last 1 to 2 days here, which is potentially one of the many reasons as to why we've seen a lot of bullish price action just recently. But if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin price charts today, here on the 4-day time frame, the super trend indicator is actually just about to flip green again, because if we simply break out above approximately 102 to 103,000 with confirmation, so a 4-day candle close above that level, that will actually flip this indicator back into the green, signaling more of a bullish trend starting to form. And so obviously we're on the edge of potentially confirming that bullish signal possibly very soon. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, technically speaking, there is still a bearish divergence to watch out for on the weekly time frame, but for now, really not much has changed recently on this chart. But if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart right here, obviously the weekly Bitcoin MACD is quickly moving closer towards a bullish crossover. And as I've been saying over the last 1 to 2 weeks, I've been saying we're getting extremely close to that bullish crossover, and at the current rate, we're potentially a week away, maybe less than a week away now from actually flipping back into the green here in the histogram within the MACD indicator, seeing a bullish crossover. And of course, as I've been saying pretty much every day for the last 1 month now on the channel, we're already declining in bearish momentum. We're already moving closer towards a bullish crossover. And the last couple of times this has happened in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, we were already in the recovery stage for the price of Bitcoin. And so in other words, we're clearly seeing the recovery heading towards all-time highs right now, recovering out of this correction. And once again, based on the current rate, we're getting extremely close, possibly just days away from confirming a new bullish crossover here. And based on these last 2 signals, after we confirmed the bullish crossover, we actually saw much more bullish price action. So it's not like we just started to slow down once we finally hit the bullish crossover. We actually started to speed up. We saw a lot more bullish price action. So we can see right here, obviously, we had already seen a recovery by that stage, by the bullish crossover, but we saw a lot more bullish price action over the next few weeks and months. And if we're taking a look at this example, the most recent example of a bullish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, from that point, from the bullish crossover towards the upside, we actually saw a massive bullish move of more than 50% towards the upside in around 1.5 months. And of course, I've been saying that pretty much every day over the last 1 month or so. I've been saying expect a lot more bullish price action over the coming weeks and months. And so far, this is starting to play out. And as always, I put my money where my mouth is. You can clearly see I'm currently in a long position, which I'll talk more about in just a moment. But first, if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now the price of Bitcoin is experiencing a major breakout above a very significant area of resistance, sitting in between around 96,000 to 98,000, because as we can see here, we have a lot of traded volume in the volume profile indicator in that area. And we can also see in the volume profile indicator that the traded volume really starts to drop off towards the upside. So basically, we don't really have a lot of resistance above the price of Bitcoin right now that we've broken out above 98,000. And of course, I've been saying this over and over again here on the channel since before we saw this breakout. I said, once we finally break out above 98,000, expect a lot more bullish price action because we simply do not have a lot of resistance that is beyond 98,000. So that was really the final significant level of resistance. And so now that we're trading well above 98,000, it's extremely likely, never a guarantee, but extremely likely we'll just continue towards all-time highs. And especially if we confirm this candle close above this previous resistance, in that situation, I would expect this previous resistance to flip into new support. If we were to see some sort of pullback, expect support around there. But with that being said, taking a look at this daily time frame, and right now, of course, we're breaking out above this significant golden pocket area of resistance, which was also sitting at roughly 96 to 98,000. And in fact, right now, the price of Bitcoin is now currently testing this Fibonacci level, which could possibly act as a bit of short-term resistance, and that's sitting at close to 102,000, really just above 102k. So more specifically around 102.3 to 102.4k. We could find a small amount of resistance around there, but ultimately that's not really significant resistance. So basically it is quite likely we'll see a breakout sometime soon above that resistance there. And then above 102,000 approximately, really the next potential point of resistance based on these highs is sitting at close to 106,000, and then simply the all-time high at close to 110,000. And then of course after that we're talking about brand new all-time highs. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, obviously for roughly around 1 week we saw a bit of a slowdown in the short term, basically a short-term cool off, helping to reset the RSI a little bit here on the daily time frame. So this is now giving us a little bit more room towards the upside, as I've been saying pretty much every day over the last 1 week. Of course, once again, a reset in the RSI gives us more room towards the upside, and that's exactly what is now playing out as expected. We're seeing that more room towards the upside playing out in the price. But it is worth pointing out that of course we're now re-entering into overbought territories in the daily Bitcoin RSI, which is telling us that potentially sometime soon we may end up seeing another short-term cool off, but most likely after we actually complete this specific bullish move. So obviously I'd not necessarily enter a massive short position right now based on this position alone, based on this signal alone. I would not do that because of course we also have to factor in other things like, for example, potential liquidations, short squeezes that are happening, and of course momentum. Clearly the momentum is on the bullish side right now, so of course we can remain in overbought territories for a little while the pump actually plays out. But then perhaps in maybe a couple of days from now we may end up seeing another short-term cool off. That is also likely. And if we're zooming further into the short term, of course over the last 1 day we've just now invalidated this short-term bearish divergence, which perfectly played out over roughly half a week. For a few days here we played out a short-term cool off followed by a bit of choppy sideways price action. But now that we've seen a breakout in the 6-hour Bitcoin RSI, of course this is a strong invalidation signal telling us the bearish divergence is completely over. So from that point right there, basically the bearish divergence has now ended. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, obviously we've now taken out that liquidity which I talked about in my last video. I said we have a lot of liquidity starting to build at around 98,000. We also had that level at around 93,000, but if you watched my last video, I said it is more likely we go towards the upside than to the downside. I said we're more likely going to hit the 98k level than that 93k level, and that's simply due to the fact that the price was obviously closer towards 98k at the time of my last video, and not only that, we had more liquidity at 98k compared to what we had at 93k. So as I explained in detail in my last video, it was very likely, more likely that we'll go towards the upside to take out that liquidity, and of course that's exactly what has now played out as expected. And as for my Bitcoin trading strategy, what am I actually doing with my own money? And well, right now I'm still currently in that Bitcoin long position, which I've been sharing very transparently here on the channel for over a week now, ever since I entered the position at roughly 88,000. I said at that point back then, I said that on the channel, that is the point to enter a long position. And really throughout this entire trade, I've been saying I'm still bullish, I'm still long on the price of Bitcoin, and I expect more bullish price action. So obviously right now, the price of Bitcoin is basically following my exact predictions, and clearly you can see my trade and how it's going here, over 10,000 USDT in profits with just this one sport trade. And so this is why it's very important to subscribe to this channel with notifications notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos where I'm sharing completely for free here on YouTube these trading strategies that are making me a bunch of money. So obviously, if you're just following what I'm doing, you should also be making a bunch of easy profits in the crypto market if you simply just subscribe to this free YouTube channel. And when it comes to the rest of my trading strategy, for now, basically I'll slowly move my stop loss further and further into profits as this trade moves further into profits, so that in the worst case scenario, if the price just crashes for whatever reason, that will hit the stop loss and close the trade automatically at that level. So that's what I'll continue to do as this trade progresses here. And also potentially at some key points of resistance along the way, I may take a small amount of profits off the table, just simply slightly reducing the size of this long position, not necessarily closing the entire trade, but let's just say, for example, around these highs right here, around the all-time highs, maybe at around 106k to 107k, considering we do have some decent resistance around there based on where these highs have formed. Of course, I might take some profits, just slightly reducing the size of this long position around there. But then, of course, the rest of the trade will remain open, as I'll still remain in a long position because, once again, overall, I'm still more bullish than bearish, especially based on this momentum, the recovery that we're seeing right now, as I've been saying pretty much every day for a month now on the channel. And so that is my exact Bitcoin trading strategy, sharing very transparently with you how exactly I'm making a lot of profits in the crypto market right now. And if you want to actually take these trades for yourself, like what I'm doing right now, to easily profit in the crypto market, exactly like what I'm doing. Personally, I'm taking this trade right here over on 2bit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to $50,000 in trading rewards. But if you're not one of these larger traders here, you can also claim a $30 sign up bonus and a 20% deposit rebate up to a max of 200 USDT. So for example, if you deposit $1,000, you get a $200 bonus, but only if you use that link. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, the first and second link below this video. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want 2bit as an exchange, there's also BTNX as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And also, if you use that link below this video to BTNX, you can claim some massive trading bonuses over here, like for example 35,000 in USDT, or if you're not one of these larger traders, you can also get basically a $200 bonus onto your account just by depositing $1,000 using that link. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is also a no KYC exchange. So if you're going to be taking trades just like what I'm doing right here, definitely check out these exchanges, links below these videos, if you simply want to claim these massive bonuses and trade like what I'm doing right here. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates right now, despite the current pump, a lot of the funding rates are neutral despite the pump in the price of Bitcoin and really the overall crypto market, because as I always say, the rest of the crypto market is highly correlated to what Bitcoin is doing. So if Bitcoin is pumping, expect a pump for most altcoins. And so once again, a lot of these funding rates are very neutral, but usually during a major pump like this, we tend to see a lot of the funding rates get very overheated. Like for example, a lot of long positions basically pile into the crypto market when things are pumping, but that is not what we're seeing right now. The funding rates are very neutral, telling us that the market is balanced despite the current pump. So in other words, the current pump is heavily driven by the spot market and not so much by the derivatives market or the futures market. And so that tells us one thing. It tells us that this pump is healthy and sustainable. This is genuine momentum that we are seeing, as I've been saying for a month now on the channel, since much lower prices, like for example at around 80,000, and especially when I entered this long position at 88,000, I've been saying bullish, bullish, bullish since then. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, of course, right now Ethereum is following very similar price action in the short term to what Bitcoin is doing. As I always say here on the channel, if Bitcoin experiences a major pump, expect the same thing for Ethereum. And if Bitcoin experiences a major dump, expect something similar for Ethereum. So far, that's exactly playing out, obviously. And of course, we're still finding significant support right here in between 1.4K to 1550. But technically speaking, we've not yet invalidated or reversed the massive lower high, lower low price structure. So technically speaking, if we're looking at the larger price structure on the weekly time frame, we're still technically within a larger bearish trend, also known as a bear market, despite these short-term pumps along the way. Just like how during a bull market, of course, we can see significant corrections along the way. And so in order to confirm a larger bullish trend, again, we need to confirm new bullish price structure, like for example, breakouts above key points of resistance, like for example, ideally breaking out above 2.3K, that would be a key level. And even better, if we form higher highs and higher lows on the chart, that is an indication of a bullish trend. But at least for now, we've not yet seen that, at least on the weekly time frame. But if we're zooming into the daily time frame, obviously in the shorter term, we're clearly bullish. Once again, Bitcoin is pumping, so expect a pump for most major altcoins like Ethereum. And right now, that's exactly what we're seeing. We're obviously pumping in the short term, and we're now starting to break out above this very important Fibonacci level of resistance, which is sitting at approximately 2.1K. And previously, this has acted as major resistance. So if we can actually confirm this daily candle close above 2.1K, this will be extremely bullish for Ethereum, especially if we hold this as new support, because in that situation, it's extremely likely it will basically just continue up towards the next resistance. And this next resistance is sitting at around 2380, so just below 2.4K. Above that, I would expect a bit more resistance at just above 2.5K, close to 2,500, and significant resistance in between 2.7K to 2.8K. So in other words, if we actually confirm the breakout here with the candle close confirming above 2.1K and hold that level, it's very, very likely that in the coming days or weeks, potentially maybe a month, that sort of time frame, it's very likely we'll continue up towards around 2.7 to 2.8K. And obviously, just like the short-term bearish divergence for Bitcoin, the short-term bearish divergence for Ethereum has also obviously now invalidated over the last one day, ever since we saw this breakout confirm here in the 6-hour Ethereum RSI. Of course, that's a strong invalidation signal telling us the bearish divergence is over. It's already played its part in the short term, which obviously played out perfectly for a couple of days here. But the moment we broke out in the RSI right around here, that told us the bearish divergence is over. And so that is the situation for Ethereum right now. Those are the key levels and signals to watch out for. And really overall, just expect similar price action to what Bitcoin is doing. And with that being said, taking a look at Solana, technically on the 3-day time frame, Solana is still playing out the bullish divergence. So continue to expect a bullish relief, as I've been saying for a long time now on the channel, since much lower prices here. But if we're taking a look at this daily Solana price chart, obviously right now the price is breaking out towards this next resistance, which is sitting at around $167. And above that, we have more resistance at around 178 to 179 and significant resistance in between 191 to 200. And clearly the short-term price structure or short-term trend is simply bullish, as I've been saying for a while now on the channel. Basically, ever since we broke out above this previous high, that was the first significant change in price structure on the daily Solana price chart, because obviously for a period of months, for most of this year, we were actually trending in the bearish direction, forming lower highs and lower lows. But like I said, over a week ago, once we broke out above this previous high, forming a first higher high for a long time in the price of Solana on the daily time frame, that was a change in price structure, pointing towards more of a bullish trend starting to form, at least on the daily time frame. And as for support, I would now expect short-term support at roughly 153 and also at around 146 to 147 if we were to pull back to those levels. And with that being said, taking a look at XRP on the 3-day time frame, at least for now, technically this larger bearish divergence has not yet fully invalidated for the price of XRP. So as I've been saying since months ago now on the channel, at much higher prices, technically speaking, we should not necessarily expect a significant amount of bullish momentum. And obviously, ever since I've been saying that, that's exactly played out as expected. But potentially very soon, especially if Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and a lot of these top altcoins, especially if the crypto market is performing like this, potentially very soon, this bearish divergence will come to an end for XRP, because once again, XRP is highly correlated with a lot of the crypto market, Bitcoin included. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP chart, technically speaking, we're still within the descending parallel channel, which is effectively a bearish trend, forming lower highs and lower lows. But of course, in the shorter term, we can see short-term bullish reliefs and short-term pumps during this bearish trend. But ultimately, in order to confirm a proper reversal out of this descending parallel channel, of course, we need to see a breakout above this descending line of resistance, which is currently sitting at roughly $2.45. And so especially if we confirm a daily candle close above $2.45, and then ideally if we form some sort of higher low on the price chart, in that situation, that would be a clear reversal signal from this bearish trend into a new bullish trend starting to form for the price of XRP. And in that situation, it would actually be quite likely we'll come up towards all-time highs if we confirm a bullish trend reversal here. But for now, continue to expect some resistance at roughly 245 and potentially some resistance at roughly 233 to 235 as well, based on this previous high. But overall, once again, just expect similar price action for XRP and most altcoins compared to what Bitcoin is doing. So if we're pumping for Bitcoin, expect a short-term pump for XRP, and that's exactly playing out as I always say. And so honestly, not a lot has changed for the price of XRP over the last one day. And with that being said, taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, and what is now happening for the price of Chainlink is a possible breakout above this very significant area of resistance, which is sitting in between around 1490 to 1550. But obviously, we still need to actually confirm a daily candle close above $15.50, because at least for now, we've not yet confirmed this daily candle close right here, which means there's still the possibility this could just be a candle wick towards the upside like what we've seen in the past. So once again, we need to confirm the breakout above 1550 and ideally actually hold that as new support. Then in that situation, we can finally expect a bullish reversal, not just potentially a little short-term bullish move, but actually a new bullish trend starting to form for the price of Chainlink, now that we've actually formed some higher lows on the price chart and also potentially now some higher highs, especially if we confirm this breakout. And technically speaking, this bullish divergence on the daily Chainlink chart is still influencing the price of Chainlink, so continue to expect a bit of a bullish relief as a very likely scenario based on this bullish divergence. And the next major price target, the next major point of resistance to watch out for to the upside, is sitting at around 1750 to 1760. And if we break out above that level, I'd be targeting around $20.10, so close to $20. But as always, expect similar price action to what Bitcoin is doing. So if Bitcoin just continues this bullish move here, expect more bullish price action for Chainlink and a lot of the crypto market. But once again, if you want to trade any of these moves like what I'm doing right now to easily profit in the crypto market, if you want to do this, check out those exchanges, links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto to make a lot of easy money in crypto very fast, like what I'm doing right now, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.